We will be looking at the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, Technical Drawing, SBA requirements. The CSEC Technical Drawing SBA requirements are as follows. We have three sections. We have section A, B, and C. So we're going to highlight the different sections. The first page, before we look at the different sections, will be the page that has the information about the student, his name, his ID number, his school, his territory, and his teacher, and the year of the exam, which would be May 20, whatever the year it is. The CSEC Technical Drawing SBA requirements are as follows. For Section A, which is entitled Fundamentals of Industry, the first thing that the candidate will be expected to do is to define the term industry. Now, similarly, if you're doing a business subject, there are different types of industries. So in the industrial setting, or in our technical drawing setting, we will be required to define an industry. Then, having given a general definition of what an industry entails, the candidate will now define a construction industry. All right? Then, the candidate will also describe what is the term manufacturing industry. What does it mean? Right? And then having completed those three sections, which is define the term industry, define the construction industry, and define the manufacturing industry, the next requirement in section A is to define the term an organizational structure. What is an organizational structure? All right. It's similar in business. They set up an organization based on the type of business structure that they want to run their business, and it's the same structure that you use in business that you would use to set up show the organizational structure in the technical drawing SBA. All right, having described the term organizational structure, the candidate will explain the different types of organizational structures. In business, there are three main types of organizational structures, and these same organizational structures that are used in business, it is the same requirement that is needed in the technical drawing SBA. Having explained the different types of organizational structures, and as I said previously, there are three of them. This candidate will show diagrams to illustrate each of these organizational structures that they spoke about previously. All right. All right. So we're moving on now to the next slide. We're still in section A, and we are looking at the CSEC, Technical Drawing SBA requirements. All right. So we're still in section A. In this section, right, we are looking at the occupational health and safety with respect to technical drawing or an industrial setting. So that's a big this will be the title for this part of the SBA, right? Then the next thing we'll be looking at is the types of fires. Now there are different types of fires, right? And in this requirement, the candidate will identify the different types of fires. All right. Moving on to the next item, the candidate will look at the different types of fire extinguishers. Okay, so there are different types of fire extinguishers. The candidate will explain these and illustrate with diagrams, right? The same thing will hold true for the different types of fires, right? We'll show diagrams to illustrate the different types of fires, all right? Basic diagrams, right? All right. The third thing on the agenda for Section A, Occupational Health and Safety, is 15 safety rules, all right? Then having completed the list of 15 safety rules, the candidate will write an accident report, all right? And an accident report is a detailed documentation of an incident which happened, okay? Good. After the candidate has finished writing the report for an accident, it doesn't have to be a real accident, okay? Then the next thing the candidate will be required to do is to define the different types of lines that are used in technical drawing. So in technical drawing, we use different lines to represent our objects. These objects can represent a building, a mechanical part, a piece of furniture, or an idea. Could be a design, right? So we use different types of lines in technical drawing. So what the candidate is expected to do is to show the different types of lines and explain their uses, right? And this candidates would have been at this stage of the program would have been familiar with the different types of lines that we use in technical drawing. So they will be just be putting that information in this document called the CSEC Technical Drawing SBA. All right. Importantly, in technical drawing, we also use different symbols to communicate our design ideas. All right. So in technical drawing, there are standard symbols that are used um, to be placed on a drawing, right? So for example, if we're looking at a road code book, for example, a symbol for a stoplight would be an octagon, a triangular shaped sign represent maybe a caution sign, uh, a rectangle sign in the road safety book, this book that you would use to study before you would get your driver's license to do the driving test. There are different symbols in that book, and I know the stop sign is a easy one. Um, is an octagon. The triangular shaped one with the round corners, I don't remember specifically what it represents. As I said, I don't remember this caution. And then there is a rectangular one, right? So it's the same thing in technical drawing. We use different symbols to communicate different requirements on our drawings. Okay. All right, the next thing we're looking on, the next thing that the candidate will be looking on the technical drawing heading on the section A, having described the types of lines, symbols, is the conventions, right? Having completed the conventions, then the candidate will be looking at the different codes that you use for technical drawing, right? Good. Now the candidate is almost finished now because to close off section A now, the candidate will be required to um, discuss the different types of technical drawing instruments and equipment and to to show the different instruments. It would include the diagrams, right? So the diagram for the different drawing instruments and equipment, all right? So they would explain what they are and also show a diagram, okay? All right, so we would have been completed with section A. So we'll be going on now to section B. Now in section B, right, this is a drawing component, right? So in this section, the candidate will be required to draw the geometrical drawings, right? Now, part B has two sections. We can call it part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is plain geometry. Part 2 is solid geometry. All right? Now, there are specific requirements for this section, right? And what are the requirements for part 1 and 2? All right, so the candidate for when doing section B of the CSEC technical drawing SBA will produce 3 drawings for plain geometry, 3 drawings for solid geometry, right? And that will be the requirement that the candidate is expected to fulfill for section B, okay? Mechanical drawing students in section C are required to produce the following items for the CSEC technical drawing SBA. The first requirement would be the mechanical drawing. Then the candidate will be required to produce a business plan. Then, to close off section C, the candidate will be required to produce a product design specification. All right. So the mechanical drawing students, right, will be required to produce an assembly drawing in either first or third angle projection. Secondly, the candidate will be required to produce a section view. Then the candidate will be required to produce a parts sheet. Then the candidate is required to produce a parts table. Then the candidate will be required to produce a pictorial drawing. Okay? So these are the 5 things which are needed to be done by the mechanical students. Okay? Having completed the mechanical drawing, right? Then the next item on the section C is a business plan, right? A business plan is a formal document, right? Which would set out the business, it would describe the business in words, all right? So they would they would produce a document to outline how they plan to organize and run their business, okay? The last component, right, for the mechanical drawing students is a product design specification, right? So in section C, there are 3 requirements. You have the mechanical engineering drawing, the business plan, and the product design specification. Okay?